Now the reason I have so much content on my YouTube channel, on my website, we have, now we're well past 500 videos and we have over 600 whitetail articles on my site. So there's a lot of content for you guys to absorb, but there's a lot of content to create because every week of the entire year, there's something different that you could be doing for whitetail. And even today, we're out here turkey hunting. One of my few times I actually turkey hunt for myself. I'm always taking Diane, Dante, Jake, Sam in the past for several years. But we're out here turkey hunting, but I can't help really start working on whitetail early. And so I really want to talk about what you should be doing in June, in the month of June. And while we were turkey hunting, I just had to come over and put this mock scrape in. We already had the trail camera set up. And this is a perfect spot. It goes in and out to the ag fields out here. We're gonna have a switchgrass border right out here. But this is a slight point that goes into our new Minnesota property land, and it's just full of buck sign. And so this was already an old scrape, had broken off, and I got rid of the branches and I'm making it better. And so the vine is always better. I like vines better than the most naturally occurring perennial scrapes that I see when I travel around to the different states that I go to, where I'll go to a scrape and it's a pile of vines, and it's just been one that's been worked for many years, because a lot of times those vines don't change. This is a fresh cutting that we just harvested from right over here. It's still dripping. So I expect this vine to last several years. We have one mock scrape that's still going. I'm actually going to replace it this year, but it's been going strong. We've had it in a specific location since 2014. It's now 2020. This, one of my favorite things to do in June is to get my trail cameras out and to work on either new or existing mock scrapes. And you can see right here, we have about a 4-foot diameter area that I've worked out for the scrape. I kicked every little piece of brush out of it, and there's a little briar right here that I need to get out too. It's bugging me even just standing here, and a couple leaves of green. I want it all down to the dirt. And what'll happen is deer will start to use this. They'll use it really quick here. I'm sure the camera will show that a buck will hit this within a week in this location, if not even just a few days. Great time to put it out. It establishes a pattern of use in locations where you want to hang a trail camera and monitor your bucks. I like making this one single scrape here. If there was a scrape heading in the wrong direction over here, I'd take it down. I want the deer to funnel into this location. I want to know that they're here, because on the back side of this point, I'm going to have a morning stand where I access from below to get to that location about 100 yards back. And that's going to tell me every buck that's going to be on that point back there, in that bedding point, or using that during the rut. I'll know because I can access this really quick field edge mock scrape just super efficiently. So now's the time to start it. When we have this mock scrape right here, I want that buck to be able to use this. And you can see we're about 5 to 6 feet away from this tree right here. He can circle all the way around this scrape. He's not going to hit anything. I don't want a pile of brush. I don't want trees. You don't want between two trees that are 3 feet apart. You want that buck to feel like he can circle and play with this from any different angle, and he's not hitting something. That's why this scrape ends up being so large, because they hit it from any angle. And that, to me, every deer that comes through here, buck, doe, and even fawn, they're going to hit this. And this will take several trails that are heading out to the field right here, converge them into one. It'd actually be a great stand location. There's a good tree right here, one over here. So we could even play this with a stand location in the evening when deer are coming in and out, if we feel like there's a mature buck that we want to take that's coming out to these fields. So perfect spot for one. You can see the bottom of the vine is about waist high. I do not stray from these ingredients right here. I've seen scrapes, mock scrapes, on so many hundreds of client properties. I've created dozens of mock scrapes myself in many different states and locations, different properties. And this is the best I've come up with. Probably really witnessing in person over 10,000 mock scrapes throughout the year. And that's why I have such a long, extensive playlist and a long, many years of experience doing this. Bottom of the vine, you want at waist high. If vines are not common in your area, just old grapevines, then for example, up north, jack pine branches work great. Beech tree branches work really well. White oak is a really good rubbing and scraping tree. So anything in your area that deer are readily rubbing or scraping is a great branch to use. The branch should be 4 to 5 feet long. I prefer more like 5 feet. Should be 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch in diameter. This is about 3/4 of an inch right here. The thicker they are, the longer they last. Also, it gets to a point where it doesn't seem natural to have an 1.5 to 2 inch diameter vine hanging down that they're going to hit. They usually don't like using a licking branch. It's like a baseball bat or something. So you really want to keep it in this 3/4 inch to 1 inch diameter. You want one single licking branch. You don't want 4 or 5 right here. You want them to draw their attention to this one, because I want the end of this licking branch coated with natural scent. I use 0 scent on this. I might pee on this before I leave. Other than that, I'm not coming in here refreshing this, doing anything with it for maybe even 3 or 4 years to come, other than raking it out about in June, making sure the camera's on it. But I want that single branch right there. I want it to accumulate the preorbital gland scent of every fawn, doe, and buck that passes. I want many deer to leave their scent there. I do not want to divide that scent between a number of different licking branches in this location. I want one single licking branch. I want all those deer to come right through here, even to the point if there's a scrape over there, and it doesn't match up with this line of movement right here I'm trying to create, then I get rid of it. I don't care if there's another scrape right up here 20 yards away on this same line that I'm trying to create and take advantage of, but I don't want them taking different trails to either side. Just within 20 to 40 yards, somewhere around there, 10 yards away. I want to make sure. Pretty cool right here on the new property, because we're listening to a rooster pheasant over here. We just heard a gobble down in the hollow, and been here in grouse drum this morning. So pretty cool. Lots of wildlife on the property, not to mention we've seen deer too this morning. But anyways, great activity. Scrape time for June. Getting your trail cameras out too, and getting those ready and in place. Typically I'm putting my batteries out and starting these fresh this time of year. I'll change those batteries out whether I have to or not. I don't need to with our Exodus trail cameras. They last for many months. In fact, Dante took some out. It's early May on another property, the property we sold in Elma, and they were taking his video when he walked up to him. We hadn't changed those batteries since October of last year. It's early May, so they had lasted that long. I expect these would last till November, maybe December. But in May right now, I'm going to put these out. September, October, we're going to change these batteries, and then we won't change them again on our lift cameras right here, where we're just running on HD video. We won't change those until September, October. That'll be good till next April, May, when we take the cameras out for just about a month. Camera time in June. We already have one monster that we're watching on trail camera up here. We've been able to recognize which buck he is from last year, just from the real estate agent's photos and the previous owner, even the sheds they found. We know which buck it is. But I really like in June, especially mid-June to the end of June, because you can start to recognize individual bucks from the year before. So it's a great timing to get the cameras out. You get the young fawns coming by. And so mock scrape time, camera time. And then a third thing that I really like to focus on in June is my buckwheat ultimate no-till planting. I'm planting the buckwheat during June. I'm getting one application of Roundup. At the same time, you can throw the seeds on the ground. If it's been chemically prepared, if it was an old food plot last year, you might not have a lot of weeds, but if there's any weeds showing, I like to get that seed onto the ground. Buckwheat, you don't need really to work it in, disc or till the soil. You're just bringing up more weeds and drying out the soil. You throw the seed right on the ground. At that time, I'll go over it with 2 quarts per acre glyphosate. You're not going to kill the seed or anything, because glyphosate is a post-emergent, meaning it's not going to kill the plant until after it's emerged, after it's growing. In fact, like a fern comes up and has a head on it, and it hasn't opened up into leaf yet. You can soak it with Roundup. At that time, it's not going to kill it. As soon as it opens up to about that 8-inch leaf, you kill it. And that's the same with all these plants. You're not going to kill them when there's buds on. You're going to kill them when there's leaves. It's a great time to kill when you're putting that buckwheat down. You can spray right at the same time, and then you're leaving it and letting it go till the end of July and early August. I like to plan for about a 7-week window of buckwheat growth at that time. So you really time your buckwheat planting about 7 to 8 weeks at the most from when you expect to plant your fall crops during the late summer. So that's about the timing right there. It's not, don't look at it as a timing, it's a certain time that you have to plant in spring. You're just looking at your end of summer planting. For me, it's first week of August, and then I'm backtracking about 7 to 8 weeks, and that's when you plant your buckwheat. You of course have to watch your frost and freeze advisory and warnings in the forecast, because if you're in a northern setting and you're planning on planting buckwheat around Memorial Day, then you could really get burned with a frost. I've actually had in the UP of Michigan, I've lost a buckwheat crop on July 4th when we had a little bit of snow in the early 2000s. So you can, just a little bit of frost will kill that buckwheat. So between buckwheat, trail cams, mock scrapes, that's a lot to do in June. And the final thing I really like to do, this is the last month. Right now, we're in early May. And May is the last month where you can really start to look around and pick those stand locations when there's no leaves on the trees. I like clearing shooting lanes for my tree stands when the leaves are out. Late June is a great time because you're not in the heat and dead of the summer typically. Look for those cooler days to get out and clear those shooting lanes. It's a long time before bucks are going to recognize those spots. You have a lot of time for those leaves and branches to die and really just become part of the forest if you're clearing extensive shooting lanes. And you're clearing those lanes at a time when there's leaves on the trees, and so you can easily see your shooting lanes. And that's a great time towards the end of June to start thinking about clearing your shooting lanes. I don't mind hanging stands in July and August, but I like clearing my shooting lanes a lot earlier than that. So I don't want to clear shooting lanes in August, a month before the season, and have those branches down where a buck can pick those out when he comes in. Something just doesn't look right. And I've seen a lot of adverse reactions by bucks during that time. So again, between mock scrapes, getting your trail cameras ready and getting them out so you can recognize those mid to late June bucks, getting your buckwheat on the ground, getting a spraying of glyphosate over that buckwheat to really help and assist that buckwheat grow weed free. You'll find that in that ultimate no-till, the thicker the buckwheat, the better the stand of buckwheat without weeds, the better the crop that you have in the fall. And finally, it's a great time to begin thinking about clearing your shooting lanes and really focusing on those stand locations you've already picked before that time, that you've probably picked in May. And that's enough to fill your schedule. That's 4 different activities if you want to choose one per week, but that's a lot of activities to fill your June schedule. We'll come out with a July schedule at the appropriate time, but there's something to do in the whitetail woods every month, and I hope I give you enough of a list to do so, because just like us out here turkey hunting, my mind's always on whitetail. It's easy to get sidetracked, and I love the look of this. You see this tore up fresh scrape that we just made right here, and we're gonna let this soak. This camera's already been running. It's already a hot spot in and out of buck traffic, and you can imagine I can't wait to check this trail camera out by the end of June. I will have some buck traffic on it, and you can bet we'll bring it to you shortly.